Welcome to another edition of Story Behind the Music. I'm Darren Story. Today we're going to have a special program because we are going to talk to the woman who was the muse for Prince and the song Little Red Corvette. That's right. The woman who inspired the song is going to be speaking with us today, and her name is Mi-Ling Stone Poole. Now, Mi-Ling is a native of the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, and she knew Prince a long time ago. Matter of fact, they were both very young. And the song is going to reveal some things that I think most people didn't know. And she's going to share with us some very intimate details about their relationship and about her knowledge of the song and when she came to terms with what the song truly meant. And I think you'll find it fascinating. Here's Mi-Ling Stone Poole, Prince's Little Red Corvette, on Story Behind the Music. Welcome to Story Behind the Music. I'm Darren Story, and it is my pleasure to have, for the first time ever in the world, the Little Red Corvette herself, Mi-Ling Stone Poole. Hello, May. How are you?
Hi, Darren. How are you?
I'm good. And thank you so much for being on the program. Thank you so much for the privilege of sharing this story with me for the first time for everybody to hear. We know that not long ago you were outed on the internet about being the Little Red Corvette, and
Yes.
now and then you confirmed. And for the
Yes.
record, let me just say, and for a disclaimer, that May and I know one another from 25 years. We were former business partners. We have remained friends for that period of time, and we did a lot of stuff together. We got Tech Nine his first record deal with the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Perspective Records and A&M, and now Tech is one of the most successful, if not the most successful, independent hip-hop artists in the world. May has a long and extensive career in the entertainment industry and has worked with many entertainers throughout her career. And of course, you can your bio is impressive, so people can look that up if they want to know. But I guess I wanted to establish that so people would understand that you didn't just fall off the banana boat. That you legit. But you are a woman who had a past. You grew up in Minneapolis, and you were around the sound, the thing that became the Minneapolis sound before it even had a name. And you were in the clubs, and you knew
I
all
was
the
in the mix.
Yeah, you were in the mix. You knew all the players. And here we go. People are going to want to know, why are you revealing this now, especially in the midst of his death? I mean, you know that people are going to be like, okay, here we go. Here comes another one. But
Right.
I need you to explain to me and explain to everybody that's listening, why now?
Well, that's a good question, and I'm sure a lot of people want to know that. I started writing a book about my hometown and the people that I knew and grew up with, which include Jimmy Jam, Terry, Prince, Andre Simone, David T.C. Ellis, Sue Ann Carwell, Gary Hines from the Sounds of Blackness I've known since I was 16. I've known T.C. Ellis for a long time. I mean, I knew these people. I met Prince in 1976. And I always followed the sound when I left. And I'm a writer. I'm a journalist. That's what I do. I already have one book out. And I'm a syndicated columnist. I had a radio show. I had a lot of the people from the sound on my radio show, including you. And, a lot of people from the sound. And so it's part of me. I mean, it's who I am. It's where I came from. And so I always intended to write about it because I write historical pieces too. I do a lot of things. And I started in 2004. When I was younger, when I found out in 85, I had a baby. She wasn't even one.
Yeah, you don't want all that drama, right?
No, I didn't want drama. And I had a new husband. Basically, we had only been married. We've been together, but we had been, just married a little over a year. And
that would have been crazy. That would have been crazy.
Yeah. Plus, he was in a pretty intense career himself, and so he was in training. So I didn't want to bring that. Plus I was not happy with that. When I found out, I said, why did he write that song, about me? And then, because I had been told there were other songs. I was there, you know,
Okay,
with him.
Let me stop you there because I want. Why did what problem did you have with the song? I mean,
Well, I mean, when I was told by somebody very close to him, I I was like, what? Because I hadn't really listened to the song. I just heard those words about things in her pocket. And I was like, no, where the heck did he get that from? Made up. But, a couple people said, well, sometimes you just put stuff in that rhymes. But then after I listened to the song and I realized that, oh my God, it was like 3 or 4 different occasions. It wasn't just one continuous, like event. It was
mhm.
from multiple times that we were together, things that we were doing. And it made a lot of sense. I mean, it is definitely our song.
Because
But
because a lot of people have characterized that song as this, kind of nasty, wild one night stand.
no, it wasn't that.
Yeah,
Right.
and so
It was more of an intimidation because I'll give you a side story. The jockeys on the wall were real.
okay,
Okay. I'll just let that out just so I dated a heavyweight champ and he was on my wall and he met Prince
that's a jockey.
in a stairwell. His name was Mike Hercules Weaver. He was a heavyweight champ back then. And I met him later. There were some other jocks on the wall too that were friends and not necessarily people that I dated. They were very intimidating, high, people who are very popular. And I was just always around, those kinds of people in my life. It just, that particular, the boxers were something that I was doing with the University of Minnesota.
Right.
That's how I met them. We were working with the Women's Boxing Association, amateur, and getting the women sanctioned. So I had pictures on the wall of people like Muhammad Ali, who
Mhm.
I met through that. And, so all the jockeys on the wall that he saw were not necessarily people I was with. There were, just pictures of people on the wall.
Right.
But he was very intimidated by that. And he says so,
Yeah.
in the song. And that's real. That's real. And when he went to the place where my horses run free, that's just my apartment. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't like some sex place or anything like that.
Just an
It
apartment
was just,
of a college student.
well, I was living with my sister and it was the first time we lived in town. And, it was just on Fuller. And I had never lived in town. We had lived in the suburbs. I'm not trying to be all snooty, but we lived in a little, I call it ramshackle place, but whatever.
Right.
We lived there.
Oh.
And if you read some of the reviews, it was like, ooh, this sex den. I'm like, really? It was just a duplex. That's where we lived.
Yeah. We're on with Mi-Ling Stone Poole, the real Little Red Corvette, and she's on Story Behind the Music, telling a little bit of her story because we can't give it all away in this interview because
but I did want to give that part away, because it's already out there anyway. Because Mike told a story about meeting Prince, and there was a point where Prince and I were off and on, and we were off at one point, and the story is that Mike and I went to a party on Elliott, and it was the day of his fight with Scott Ledoux, and we were just friends at that point, Mike and I.
Right.
But, he asked me what's going on in Minnesota. I said, well, some of the guys from the U wanted me to bring you to this party on Elliott. So we went to the party, and it was November. As we were coming down the stairs, who walks in the door? Prince and Andre. And it's a narrow staircase. So we're walking down. Now, Mike Hercules Weaver is a big guy. I had heels on, and it was slick on the stairs. So he lifts me up. And he's carrying me down the stairs, and Prince comes in the door, and I was like, oh gosh. And then he puts me down because we have to pass. And I introduce Prince to him and Andre, and then we continue up. And then Mike says, this is on his website. He says, who was that guy? He looked at me, that little man looked at me like he wanted to kill me. Or that little guy looked at me like he wanted to kill me. And I said, oh, that's Prince, my ex-boyfriend. He goes, okay. And then years later, he recently told me that his brothers, who are, I think, triplets who box, met Prince at a nightclub in LA, and they asked him, did he know Mike? And apparently Prince said, yeah, I already met Mike. So, I mean,
Probably threw a little shade.
Mike was serious about that. He said, the dude was looking at me like he wanted to kill me. Are you sure that's your ex-boyfriend?
Right.
And I said, well,
Well,
I don't know.
he obviously you obviously left an indelible mark in his mind. Prince throughout the years, as we all know, has different muses that have come into his life. But Little Red Corvette is a song that began to define his career. That was his first top 10 hit. He had just broken through. He had broken through the MTV barrier. That song will forever be connected with him. And I'm not going to say like more than maybe like Purple Rain, but that you can mark time when that song came out.
Right.
And
right.
I remember where I was when I heard the song and I saw the video. I was like, oh man, this dude's the bomb. And you are the person that's a big effing deal.
Right. But see, if you have to understand, when I was in the clubs, I met Prince in 1976. I was 16 years old. And I met him at a party, a New Year's Eve party with a girlfriend of mine. And then I met him again in 1979 at the Fox Trap, which later became the Taste, which was later featured in Purple Rain. Okay. And around town, I was known as Fancy Dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be confused with a pole dancer. I was just dancing in the clubs. That was my thing. I really enjoyed dancing. And that's why when I heard initially people were calling from home saying, oh, Prince's album dropped, because I left 2 weeks before it dropped.
Right. And
they said, I know Sexy Dancer must be about you or whatever. I want to be your lover. And I'm like, really? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. And, so I was kind of shocked when I was told that Little Red Corvette was about me, but it makes a lot of sense. And I'll describe the whole thing, in the book from the Corvette on down to each and every little thing that he says. It is a critical part of that song. It's all real, by the way.
And that's pretty incredible that the song is so incredibly detailed.
Yes. And I wish I could tell you all of that, but again, it's part of the story, and it's
no, I don't. I'm not trying to get it out of you. I mean, I could go Mike Wallace on you and Barbara Walters or something, and just try to get it all out of you. But that's not the purpose of this interview. The purpose of this interview is to kind of set a foundation for what's about to happen next. So. I think it's important, too, that we kind of build a little timeline. I think you talked about it. You first met Prince in 76, but you guys dated.
I was 16. But we had a connection then. Those eyes met. I mean, our eyes met, and I was dancing at that party, and he was checking me out, and he played all these different instruments that night. And, I mean, I thought, I said, oh, he's kind of cute, But, I wasn't really tripping. And then 2 years later, I meet him again, and he just runs out on the floor and starts dancing with me. And I thought, well, I guess he waited till I was legal because, he does that.
Right.
He wasn't messing with no 16-year-old. So, that was cool.
Now,
and from that night, we had a relationship, so that was January, I believe, 23rd.
January 23rd. You remember the date. You used to write everything down, though, right?
I used to have a journal. Yeah. So I would write in a date book, and I was really busy too. I was a college student. So I was in college. I was in a lot of activities and organizations, inroads, all this stuff, flying all around, and working with that organization with the women's boxing, doing the PR for them. And I was busy, and I worked, and I put myself through school. So I was kind of busy. I wasn't like one of the girls that was falling out. Oh, Prince, I was busy. I really was. And, but we had a good connection. We did. I think he was attracted to me because of the dancing.
Mm-hmm. He
initially.
I know that from my own experience with him when I lived in Minneapolis. He liked to dance. He would come to First Avenue, and he wouldn't dance a lot, but he'd find someone and check him out. If he would have to check you out before he would go out on the floor with you.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That was his MO. So if he
I didn't
hadn't,
even know my name. My nickname was Fancy Dancer. I mean, I would dance by myself. My cousins, this is kind of, I'm gonna call my cousins out. They would take me to the Flame to dance in a dance contest so they could win a bottle of wine.
wow, that's kind of ghetto.
It was ghetto. It was ghetto, but they weren't. And the Flame was dangerous.
Ray.
You know, you just didn't go to Flame. You probably
Yeah.
don't know about the Flame
No, I don't remember
before
the
your time.
flame. I don't remember the flame.
Yeah.
It sounds a little sketchy. Um, we're on with Mi-Ling Stone
People
Poole
got
story.
stabbed. I think it burned down.
All right, story behind the music with Mi-Ling Stone Poole, the real Little Red Corvette. So now, fast forward 2004, and you went to a concert in your hometown, and
Right.
to see him, and tell us about that story.
I hadn't seen Prince perform after I left Minnesota. That's a long time. I left in 1980 and it was unexpected. I had a tragedy happen in my life and I basically left, didn't even tell him. And in 2004, a couple different times I tried to get to concerts, but, family life and everything got in the way and timing was off, so I couldn't go. And 2004, I actually joined the fan club and got tickets. And I didn't know what kind of ticket I had until the day of. They told you the day of. And
Hmm.
I told my husband we're going to go, and we had front row floor seat tickets,
Wow.
center stage. I was like, wow, is that fate or what? So I made a sign, and it said, Prince, remember me, Mi-Ling Stone, St. Paul. And excuse me, and I held it up. I held it up, and he noticed it. And then my husband actually held it up because I was 5'2", and he said, "Give me the sign," because he's almost 6'3". And so he held it up, and Prince noticed it, and he was like, "Oh my God!" And it was a big production. He got on one knee, and I tell people I brought Prince to his knees, and he read the sign, and he just had this look on his face, like, "Where have you been?"
Right.
And then he did this whole little rooster thing, like I call it, like he was just showing out. And he shredded the guitar and he pointed at me and said, "This is for you." And it was just surreal. It was really great. And then he put me on stage. Well, he called me up on stage to dance. And then later he sang our song for the first time.
Wow.
So I know.
That's a great story.
Dancing.
And for the record, I saw the video, and I saw Mei-Ling, and I saw the sign, and I saw Prince visibly. He was shaking. It was not like he had seen a ghost, but it was like it was an OMG moment.
Like, the wind goes through the trees, you know?
Right.
It was one of those moments,
Yeah. Yeah, it
like,
was. It was.
better with time moment. I'm just saying.
So as we wrap up, the next question that comes to my mind is, now that you've done this, and now that you've revealed who you are and what you meant to him, what now?
Well, after I left the concert that night, a few days, I guess it was a few weeks later, I got a call from Jerome Benton, and Jerome said, "Hey, May, the time is opening up for Prince in Minneapolis. You should go." And I said, "Yeah, I should go. I should go." And I did go. And so I went to Minneapolis and I spent 3 nights at Paisley Park, actually 2 nights. And then the third night, I didn't go that night, but I went to do a tour of Paisley Park because I had never been there,
Right.
you know? And I got a chance to talk with Prince a little bit and see a lot of my friends. And the concert was nice, and saw Jerome and all of them. And, I just kind of started to rethink what I was going to do. Initially my kids were little and I was not going to, reveal to the world that I was a Little Red Corvette. Not at that point. I didn't want that drama. And then when I was writing the book, I always knew I was going to reveal it. I just had a lot of friends kind of pushing me to get it done and do it. And it was hard to do. It's hard to
No,
to
of
reveal
course.
a song like that. I mean, because people make judgments about who you are.
Well,
And
it's a big deal. This is Prince. This is not like
right.
This
And,
is
and if you do it, are they going to believe you? Are they not going to believe you? Do you care?
sure.
I really don't care if they believe me or not. It's just, it is what it is. And we were together. That's our story. That's what happened. And did I ever in my wildest dreams think he was going to write a song about me? No. Or more than one, as some people say. I was his muse. I don't know. I mean, no, I didn't think that. But it is what it is, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of people do want to know who that person was. Then I have a story to tell around that, that kind of, is interesting as well. And sometimes people don't know why you act or are the way you are because they don't know your backstory.
Right.
And so there is a backstory behind the song, behind the woman, that I think is interesting and helpful to people out there. And as Prince has said, you know, um, you're either here to discourage or enlighten. And I want to enlighten. And, I think back at the time, and Darren, it's just like, wow, I was, I was 18 and he was giving me private concerts in his home, you know,
That's pretty cool.
sitting on a pillow.
That's
And,
pretty cool.
I wish I could remember. I mean, I do remember Aqua Boogie. He did sing that. I think, I think Andre was in the room on
He
that
loved.
one. And they were,
We it's well
yeah,
documented. He loves George Clinton. He loves
yeah, he
funk.
was doing Aqua Boogie. And I started doing that. Ooh, ooh, the bird call.
Yeah,
And they both looked at me like, don't do that.
yeah, yeah. I know what they mean. I know how they felt
Yeah, okay,
when you
right.
just
Well,
did that,
it's
right?
funny to me.
Because
I
that was
still remember the
terrible.
look at,
Uh,
what you mean the one I just did is
yeah,
terrible?
the one you
Oh,
just did was terrible.
well, I could do it better, but I don't want to get all,
Right. No.
show my skills and everything.
So- okay. So,
We had a lot of fun though. He joked a lot, and I joked right with him, and we immediately had a connection. We really did.
well,
Um,
that's obvious.
it was just that we were really young. We
Yeah.
were young. I was young. He was young.
Yeah. But
So
I think that you have a special place in his heart because you were the one that was around during that time when he was young and not hadn't quite made it. He was still making a name for himself, and there you were in the midst of all that, and that we kind of always have a place for those people when we were young in our hearts,
like an
right?
around the way girl. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, no, I mean, not really. I'm just saying that there are people that steal a piece of your heart and take it with them, even, and it's still theirs, even after you've grown older. I think we all
Right.
have that one that we look back at
Right.
and say, "Wow, what if?" Or that person just really, really changed my life. And I think in many ways, Mi-Ling, you could almost say that because he wrote that song and that changed his life.
True.
Yep.
Sometimes you just meet people for those reasons.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just meet people to, elevate them or whatever.
Yeah.
You're just that person for them. So, I had a connection with him till the day he died. I was devastated when he died.
Yeah.
I mean, my family was like, maybe you need to talk to somebody. Everything just came rushing back, and just in writing the book, I had to pull it all out again.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I tell
I
you
had
what,
to pull everything out.
I can't wait for the book. I know a lot of people are going to be waiting with bated breath to read this story and what it's going to reveal that's even more complex than just you being the inspiration for one of his greatest songs. I think people are going to be very, very surprised. How long do you think you have before you'll be done?
I have a couple more chapters, and I also am a travel writer, so I have a couple jobs, but I am working on it diligently, and I hope to have it done soon. And I will tell you that it is very entertaining, very funny.
Hmm.
I have nothing but admiration and respect for Prince, so it's a good book, and I think people will be interested in knowing what the real story was
Hmm.
behind the Little Red Corvette. Because over the years, what impressed me as I matured is that Prince changed the song. The song became more of an anthem, especially if you look at the overseas concerts.
Sure.
And as recent as 2016, he did a piano version of it with Little Red Corvette and Dirty Mind. That is absolutely beautiful. So, I mean, everywhere that Prince went, he carried me with him in a sense through that song. And that means a lot to me now that he's gone. Yeah.
Mi-Ling, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story with me and our listeners. And we look forward to the book, Little Red Corvette, The Woman Behind the Song, is coming out very soon. I'm sure you'll be able to find out. Mi-Ling is really good at letting everybody know what she's doing. As a matter of fact, if you want to know more about what Mi-Ling does, you can go to Minneapolis Sound News. That's MPLSsoundnews.com to find out more. And she is always propping up the hometown with all the music and everything, still repping it like you've always have. And if you want to find out, if you want to find out more about what's going on in Minneapolis, all the artists, whether it's Sheila E. or Morris Day and the Time, even Low Key,
Mint Condition, Low Key,
yeah, we're all there.
So Sounds of Blackness, I've been promoting them all my life since I was going through some things at early as 91.
Yeah, I know. MPLS.
And then don't forget Facebook.
Don't forget, yeah, if you want to spell it out, Minneapolis Sound News, spell it out. You can get to it on Facebook. And once again, MPLSsoundnews.com. Mi-Ling, thank you so much for sharing this time and your stories. And we look forward to the book. It's Mi-Ling Stone Poole, folks, the real Little Red Corvette on Story Behind the Music.